Hello and welcome to our agriculture show, Ag Life. I'm Gerard. Lampow. On the menu, some more information on the possible loss of trees, seed treatments as the review is underway. Plus, we learn about Swath grazing. We get a glimpse into the future with some young ranchers, so lots to unpack. First, snows on the ground. Alberta canola was touring the province, sharing vital information with producers. I caught up with the tour in Vermilion to get the key points.
Scientific information versus not, etc. like that.
Choosing a better variety that is suited for that particular race of the blackleg fungus. You can pick out the right resistance genes that you need to have in your canola varieties that will fight off the disease and keep the yield there.
Agronomist Clint Yerke weighing in on one of the many challenges facing producers. Another big one as the PMRA reviews seed treatments and the possible loss of agronomic tools is the ongoing glyphosate debate.
Our regulatory bodies here in Canada, the regulatory bodies in the US, they've all found no link between cancer and glyphosate. As you mentioned, it's the most extensively studied chemistry, probably in the history of the world.
Mark Walker with CCGA echoes the sentiment of producers that losing access to existing tools will not allow farmers to feed the world. The focus switched to markets as canola has been falling over the last little while.
Harvest pressure is what's caused canola to move lower here, but also overhanging over the market is soybean ending stocks in the U.S. 955 million bushels is what USDA had suggested last week.
David Drozd with the Winnipeg-based Ag Chief says more pressure on oil seeds could come next year when the South American soybean crop is available, and if the China-U.S. trade battle is not resolved. The audience had a lot to digest.
I hope that we continue to push the science behind it and not the rhetoric. What's happened down in the United States isn't totally science-based.
Given the changes that have come from the CRA, a conversation on tax tips and traps was also on the menu.
It's not just tax, it's legal, banking, life insurance, all of those. And it may be different advisors, or it should be different advisors that use for each one of those areas to make sure that you're getting a well-rounded approach.
Stakeholders will be digesting this information for some time as Alberta Canola continues its Powering Profits tour.
There was so much diversity from all of the experts. It was so great to join. It's something I hope I can use back home at my farm as well as at work at the credit union.
And it's time now to roll our events calendar. And when we come back, producers and consumers could be affected by the final decision of a regulatory agency. Do stay with us.
This segment of Ag Life is brought to you by Webb's Machinery. Webb's Machinery, your New Holland dealer in Vermilion, Vegreville, and Lamont.
In the hectic growing and harvest season, many people may have missed that the Pest Management Regulatory Agency is reviewing the use of two chemicals that are essential to the growing process.
If the PMRA decides to move forward with this phase-out, these products will not be available after 2024.
Mark Walker with the CCGA says they are concerned about the impact on producers that the possible loss of existing agronomic tools will have on their ability to produce food in a sustainable and environmentally safe manner.
PMRA, the Pest Management Regulatory Agency, came out with their proposed special review decision for clothianidin and thimethoxam, which are used as seed treatments on canola.
The CCGA have submitted their concerns and are encouraging producers to make their own submissions.
We support the PMRA in their evidence science-based approach, but there were some things that we noticed that maybe could have been a bit stronger, and so we tried to outline those for them, as well as risk mitigation. We asked that they take risk mitigation measures into account.
The Canadian Canola Growers Association wants all evidence to be considered before a final decision is made.
The way that these chemicals move through water is a large part of how the PMRA made its risk assessment, and we looked at some studies and saw that perhaps if they'd incorporated those studies, their water model could have been stronger.
Walker says it's possible the PMRA is overestimating the levels that the chemicals could be found in water. These seed treatment chemicals are used to protect the seed from pests during the early life of the plant.
These particular chemistries have never been found in food. They are very targeted, very specific chemistries that work on one type of insect, flea beetles, that are very, they can wipe out a canola crop in a matter of days.
The seed treatments allow other beneficial insects to thrive under the canola canopy, which is a good fit for the environment. To lose these chemicals will mean producers may have to revert to previous measures, which will have environmental and sustainability consequences. But here's the main take-home for consumers.
There's no pesticides in your canola oil.
Well, Swath grazing is a practice some producers use during the winter to feed their cattle and save costs. I discover that what's good for the cows is also good for the soil.
They're fun to grow.
Trent McNabb has been using Swath grazing to get a quality feed option for his cows in the winter. He seeds a polycrop or mix of crops to get a win-win situation for the soil and the animals.
Especially the forage brassicas, they're turnip and radish type plants, so you get to see some big root systems on them. These brassicas, forage brassicas, they stay vegetative year-round. They're from New Zealand, actually.
McNabb says as long as they stay vegetative, it's easy for the cattle to eat. Then there's the benefit to the soil.
You're dealing with a whole bunch of different root systems, so your plants are drawing from different soil zones, and you're increasing your nutrient cycling, because one plant might be a taproot that might draw from one soil zone, and the other one might be a creeping root. We might have, like, the peas are nitrogen fixers, so you get a little bit of everything growing out there.
Just like we enjoy a mixed diet, cows also savor a variety of food choices.
And so we have corn, we have straight barley, and then we have a mix of what I just described to you, the barley and peas and brassicas.
McNabb grazes the cow-calf pairs on the crop mix first to benefit from the higher quality.
Then we have some straight barley swath grazing that we'll go to. The pairs will maybe make it onto there for a little while. Then we'll wean the calves, and the cows will clean up the swaths. Then they'll go to corn, and then we have some bale grazing to finish off the late spring.
Once the crop is eaten by the cows, it's all broken down in the pasture and left to feed next year's crop.
Yeah, depending on the weather, we'll try get through November on grass. Last year the snow came early and we had to go to the swaths earlier. The year before we made it to the 1st of December, and then we turned them in there. So.
Well, here's another conversation that pulls at the heartstrings. Farm family coach Elaine Fraze chats with us about letting go of a family member on the farm.
It's a challenge to have to fire someone in the workplace. It's even more difficult when it's a family member. Farm family coach Elaine Fraze says, don't procrastinate.
The lack of respect is killing good farm businesses, according to Dr. Jeffrey Bernstein. And he said that you think it because your adult child has problems that lets them off the hook for showing heartfelt respect. You may notice that he or she seems respectful when wanting something from you. Your adult child, however, turns on a dime or gets passive-aggressive if you reframe that request and you feel worn down and accept this chaos as normal.
Fraze says maybe there's a mental health issue and there are groups like Do More Ag taking up that challenge. She says expectations and job descriptions need to be clear. It's important, even on a family operation, that things are not taken for granted.
You need to treat the situation with dignity and have that conversation in a private space, and you probably should have your spouse or another part of your farm team there just to witness how you've conducted the meeting.
Ideally, there would be a written job description, but on many family operations, that's not the case. Fraze is glad that's slowly changing. She says the next step is to explain to the rest of the team what has happened.
I have experiences of a family who did fire their son. The son was back in the family meeting when I was coaching them when his brother was going to be the successor. It did put a strain on the relationship, but there's two systems at play here. There's the family system, so you're always going to be father-son or father-daughter, mother-daughter, but you have to separate that from what's best for the farm business.
Phrase points to the courage to make these decisions in the face of family stability, mental health, and the future of the farm.
Well, I think your happiness and your sense of purpose and well-being is a pretty good indicator, Gerard. So a lot of people need to have a good talk with themselves first.
The Lloydminster Agriculture Exhibitions is celebrating 40 years of hosting the Stockade Roundup, while our Cassandra Hornsby reports on 4 generations of 4-H members.
MJT Cattle Company brought out a large show string of Black Angus cattle at this year's Roundup. Mick Trefiak says he has been showing cattle here for more than 30 years.
This is a good show to come to. There's some of the best cattle in Canada probably around Lloydminster, and these cattle come to this show every year, and we haven't missed many shows come to Lloyd. It's good for us to market.
Trefiak says the Roundup exhibits their commercial cattle and shows potential buyers what they have to offer.
They might come back at your bull sale that you have. We have a bull sale in the spring, and they might, if there's something that they like there, they'll come back and maybe see what you have at the farm. So.
MJT Cattle Company does majority of their sales through their annual bull sale, but occasionally they have marketed their genetics at the show.
Here, it's pretty local, and this is our bread and butter for selling our commercial bulls.
The Lloydminster exhibition says the number of Angus being exhibited in the barns is comparable to last year.
I think we just have a pretty good reputation for putting on a good show all around for all breeds. We love to have new exhibitors, and we have great exhibitors that are here year after year.
I'm here, son's here, and we've got grandkids that are showing too, so it's kind of a 4-generation ranch. So.
For Primetime Local News, I'm Cassandra Hornsby.
And still to come, we hear from a Saskatchewan cattleman about VBP+, so do stay with us. Thank you again for choosing Ag Life. Well, the beef industry is positioning itself to deal with consumer demands. Verified Beef Production Plus is tracking the steak on your plate from the farm to the feedlot and then to the grocery. It allows producers who are part of the program to have a third-party verification that they are in fact producing a safe product.
My name is Marianne Plasberg, and I'm from the Saskatchewan Cattlemen's Association, and I'm here with Coy Schellenberg on his farm to talk about the Verified Beef Program. So thank you very much, Coy, for inviting us to your lovely farm.
You're welcome.
So first, why is your farm part of the Verified Beef Program?
Well, our ranch includes myself and my wife and our 2 daughters and my parents, and we thought it was important to get involved because it's an opportunity to prove what we're doing well on the farm and ranch. There's a large misconception between consumers and producers what happens on the farm or ranch and what's important, and this is an opportunity to show what we do well and why.
So what exactly is the Verified Beef Program?
So the Verified Beef Program came out of Quality Starts Here, which was education and awareness for producers on how to make sure we're doing things well. And Verified Beef was developed so that producers could actually then prove it. So majority of producers and operations today are doing all these things well that our program requires, and our program is just a method of proving it through verification.
So you mentioned that farmers are trying to prove that they're doing the right thing. So what exactly is the right thing?
So food safety is the primary component of our program, understanding how withdrawal times affect animals and why we need to adhere to that before they go to slaughter, understanding why injecting in the neck is an important thing versus anywhere else, and understanding what products are, why they're supposed to be used according to label and things like that.
So I guess how can producers be a part of the Verified Beef Program?
So training is the first step, and majority of producers have taken our workshop in Saskatchewan, and that literally takes about an hour of the food safety training, and it's also available online for producers that can't attend in person. And then once you're trained, then you can decide to either become verified through the on-farm audit, which is just proving it, or you can implement the practices and just go that far. But what we're really focusing on is encouraging producers to take that final step of verification.
So what exactly is the verification, and how do you go about getting one?
The verification is through the on-farm audit. So one of the misconceptions is that it's maybe an onerous involved thing. It's not. Our auditors are producers themselves. They understand what it means really on the farm and the ranch. And our audit is 3 to 4 hours in time length, and it's not onerous. It's looking at records. How do we keep track of who we're treating with what and when, and how do we know that animals are safe to ship? And a lot of that is through discussion at the kitchen table and understanding your records.
So one of the audit processes is looking for whatever a producer must do.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens in the audit process if an auditor finds that the producer hasn't been doing something that's required?
It's called a corrective action, and what it does is it allows the auditor the opportunity to explain what's not quite in line, and it gives the producer the opportunity to respond by, tweaking or amending whatever's not quite in line, so that they do comply.
Is that something that they must do immediately, or is there a time period in which?
And the auditor and the producer set that time frame out right during the audit. They agree on what's realistic, when's the next time that you can adjust this. Some things can be done on a daily basis, some things might not get done till next year at that season.
Mm-hmm. So one of the misconceptions that I've heard is that in order to be part of the Verified Beef program, you need to keep track of every dose that comes from a bottle that goes into a calf in one way or another.
Right. Yeah, that's not how our program is designed. We're only concerned about the animals specifically, how they're being managed. So what animals are given with what product is important, but you don't have to keep track of each bottle or anything like that. It's a matter of knowing what animals were treated with what product when, what that withdrawal time is, so that you know when they're safe to ship.
Very good. So that doesn't apply to hormones?
No, nothing to do with hormones in our program. We use implants on our own operation here today, and we believe in them and that they have value. And really, our program's focused on food safety practices and understanding how to make sure that the food is safe on the plate. And there's lots of science to back up why hormones are justified.
Mm-hmm. So when it comes to, I guess, a broken needle in the calf, why is that important?
The broken needle is obviously an obstruction in the meat that's going to be dangerous to the consumer. So we don't want that, and we want to identify and record the animals when that does happen. Injecting in the neck reduces the risk of it being lost in a larger cut, and sending that record with the animal on to the next owner, whether it be slaughter or another owner, so that that animal can be dealt with properly, so that the needle does not get on the shelf.
So why does it matter to keep track of even your cows, your cull cows as well?
Keeping track of our cull cows is an important aspect within the cow-calf sector, because we use insecticides like Ivomec and different things like that, where we're treating them so that they stay clean and healthy, but there is a withdrawal time with the product. So with our cull cows, if it's in the fall when we're preg checking and we've got some opens, we want to make sure that we either have not Ivomec them before we're going to ship them, or we keep them for the withdrawal period after we do, and that's where the records are important.
Mm-hmm. Are there any other misconceptions that you want to bring up to producers?
Maybe the only other misconception might be that, some producers are concerned, how far is this going to go? And that's where I would encourage them to get involved now while it's an industry-led, industry-created program, so that we don't have to comply with something that's not realistic, created by someone else in the future.
Very good. Thank you very much, Clay.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And still to come, we look to the future of the industry as 4-Hers are showing off their cattle. Once again, thank you for staying with us here at Ag Life. More now from Stockade Roundup. Its 40th year. We're talking about the future. And if you ask Generation Next, they'll tell you the future is now. I find out how some 4-Hers are building their skills as they show off their animals.
Seeing youngsters winning accolades for their ag achievements is well balanced with a look at all the hard work leading up to lifting the trophy. 11-year-old Madison Goodfellow says her cow Specky weighs about 1,500 pounds as Specky has already had her first calf.
Yeah, she got second overall in her cow-calf. 4-H is really fun. You can do a bunch of different activities.
H kids represented themselves well at this year's Stockade in Lloydminster.
4-H, it's awesome. You get to do all sorts of stuff, not just showing cattle, but riding your horse, doing arts and crafts, cooking. It teaches you so much.
12-year-old Ramsey Fleesick has been in 4-H since he was 7 years old. He's also into hunting and hockey.
St. Louis Blues.
Really?
Teddy Bear's his calf, his heifer is Omega, and his cow is Show Off.
Getting them ready is most of it. Using the sprays, getting their hair combed up, getting them looking full.
Ramsey got first with his 2-year-old cow and reserve champ overall with his cow-calf pair. These kids are keen on their winning ways.
I won lots with her, and then I thought maybe I could win some more here, too.
12-year-old McKenna has been in 4-H since she was 7. She brought her 2-year-old cow to the show and finished second in her class. All of these kids intend to make a future in agriculture.
Showing cattle.
Showing cattle.
Awesome work there from the 4-H kids. There's lots coming in the new year for 4-H Canada. Going to be telling you about that in weeks to come there. And of course, next week's show, we got to have some more on the Alberta Canola Tour that rolled through the Vermilion area. We've got some important tax tips to share for you, so look out for that on our next show. As well, too, the month of December, the new antibiotic protocol for livestock comes on stream. So make sure that relationship with your local vet is up there, that you're in touch in terms of getting the antibiotics that you need for your cattle and such. Well, that's a wrap on Ag Life. If you've got a comment, story, idea, we'd certainly love to hear from you. You can email us, tvnews@newcap.ca, or email me as well, glampow@newcap.ca. That's where we leave it for this week. All the best from us, and do take care. Yours in Ag. Take care.